The billionaire stormed into his mansion kitchen, and what he saw nearly stopped his heart. His precious baby girl was tied on the maid's back. Anger rushed through his veins like fire, but the truth he was about to discover would change everything. The rich billionaire stormed into his luxury kitchen, and what he saw made his eyes almost pop out. His little daughter Lily, barely a few months old, was tied on the back of their maid with a bright African cloth. The baby's tiny hands clutched the colorful fabric while her head rested peacefully on the maid's shoulder, and there stood the maid, a black woman in her neat navy blue uniform, calmly stirring a pot of soup on the stove. The billionaire's face instantly turned red with rage, his veins pulsed, his jaw tightened. He could not believe what his eyes were seeing. How dare she tie my precious daughter like that, he thought. His expensive shoes clicked loudly against the marble floor as he stormed forward. His tall frame towered over the petite maid, his fists clenched so hard his gold watch almost dug into his skin. He shouted in a voice that shook the entire mansion, "Are you out of your mind? Do you know how dangerous this is? What if she falls? What if she gets hurt?" His voice echoed through the spotless kitchen, bouncing off the glass cabinets and polished counters. But the maid did not flinch. Her hands moved steadily, gently stirring the food as if his words didn't exist. The baby on her back was quiet, calm, almost smiling in her sleep, and this silence only poured more fuel on the billionaire's anger. He stepped closer, pointing a furious finger. "I pay you to care for my daughter, not to treat her like some bag of rice strapped on your back." Still, the maid remained composed. She finally turned her head slightly, her eyes calm but firm. There was no fear in her face, only quiet confidence, and while the billionaire's rage kept boiling, he couldn't help but notice something strange. For days his daughter had cried endlessly, doctors and nannies had tried everything, but nothing worked, yet here she was, resting peacefully, breathing evenly, safe and secure on the maid's back. The billionaire's anger flickered for a moment, his voice stumbled, his mind raced. Was he missing something? Why was his daughter suddenly so calm? The answer was standing right in front of him, but he wasn't ready to admit it yet. His pride kept him furious, but his heart had already begun to question everything. He marched forward, every step echoing across the polished marble floor. His tall figure loomed like a storm cloud, shoulders broad, eyes burning with rage. The glimmer of his expensive watch caught the sunlight pouring through the wide kitchen windows. Every movement screamed authority, power, and anger. He jabbed his fingers sharply toward the maid, his voice booming like thunder. "Untie her right now or you'll lose this job forever." The air grew heavy. The walls of the mansion seemed to tremble with his fury. He was a man used to control, a man who bought obedience with money, and here stood his maid, a simple woman, daring to defy him with silence. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. His face twisted with disbelief that someone of her status would even hesitate before obeying him. Slowly, the maid turned her head, her movements calm, unshaken. Her deep, steady eyes met his fury. They were not the eyes of a servant trembling in fear but of a woman holding her ground. Her voice was gentle, almost soft, yet carried a weight that pierced through his anger. "Sir, your daughter is safe with me. This is how we carry babies where I come from. It keeps them close, protected, and loved." The billionaire scoffed loudly, almost laughing at the word "loved." His expensive suit shifted as he crossed his arms, tilting his head with pure arrogance. "Loved," he repeated with mockery. "You're risking her life for your strange tradition. Do you think this is some village? This is my daughter, not some bundle of groceries you tie on your back." His words dripped with disgust, as if her culture was nothing more than nonsense in his eyes. He stepped even closer, his shadow now falling over her and the child. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched again. His pride screamed to end this humiliation, to fire her instantly and remove her from his mansion forever. After all, he was the billionaire, the man who commanded respect with every glance. And yet, the maid stood still, the baby breathing peacefully against her back, untouched by the storm raging in front of her. Her calmness was like an unspoken challenge, a silent shield that his wealth and anger could not break. The billionaire's heart thundered in his chest, his mind screamed to end it, but deep inside, something began to stir, something he was not ready to face. Instead of panicking, the maid spoke gently. Her voice was calm, steady, and full of quiet confidence. "Sir, your daughter hasn't stopped crying for days. Doctors tried everything but nothing worked. I tied her this way because it calms her heartbeat, makes her feel safe, and lets her sleep. Watch closely. her words floated in the air, soft yet powerful. They didn't sound like excuses. They sounded like the truth spoken from a place of love. The billionaire, still furious, crossed his arms tightly across his chest, his tall frame leaned back slightly, his sharp eyes narrowing with disbelief. In his mind, he had already judged her. He was ready to prove her wrong, to fire her, and to remind her of her place. The silence in the room grew heavier, only the faint crackle of the stove and the slow stirring of the pot broke it. His heart pounded in his chest as he prepared to unleash more anger, but then, something unexpected happened. Baby Lily, his precious little girl who had been restless for weeks, lay peacefully on the maid's back. Her tiny pale hand clutched the bright African cloth as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Her breathing was steady, her cheeks soft and pink, and her eyelids fluttered gently as though she was drifting into the most peaceful sleep of her young life. The billionaire froze, his eyes widened, his lips parted but no words came out. For days and nights, he had watched his daughter cry endlessly. He had paid doctors, nannies, and nurses, but no one could calm her. He had walked the halls of his mansion holding her, feeling helpless despite all his power and wealth, and now, in front of his eyes, she was calm, no tears, no cries, just peace. The maid didn't even look at him. She kept stirring the food with slow, steady hands. Her posture was confident but humble, as if she had done nothing extraordinary. The only sound was the rhythmic motion of the spoon in the pot and the soft breath of the sleeping baby. The billionaire's chest tightened, his anger faltered, his powerful presence suddenly felt small in the face of what he was witnessing. For the first time, he began to wonder if his pride had blinded him, if maybe, just maybe, this woman knew something his wealth could never buy. His anger slowly faded into confusion, and then into guilt. The fire that had been burning in his eyes only moments ago now flickered and dimmed. For the first time in his life, the billionaire, who prided himself on knowing everything, controlling everything, stood speechless. In that silence, a heavy truth hit him. This woman, this maid he had doubted and looked down on, cared more for his daughter than anyone else in that mansion. His strong shoulders, usually squared with power and authority, began to slump. The weight of his pride pressed down on him. His voice, once loud and thunderous, softened almost to a whisper. "You did this, just to help her," he said, struggling to accept what his own eyes had witnessed. The maid paused, finally lifting her gaze fully to meet his. Her eyes did not show arrogance, only honesty and quiet strength. She nodded respectfully, her voice calm yet piercing. "Sir, I may be your maid, but to me, this little girl is like my own blood." Her words cut through the billionaire's heart deeper than any argument could. They carried no greed, no hidden agenda, only the pure truth of love and care. The billionaire's chest tightened as shame washed over him. He thought of all the doctors he had called, all the money he had spent, all the expensive cribs, toys, and machines he had bought, and yet none of them had given his daughter peace, none of them had soothed her cries. But here was this woman, humble, overlooked, underestimated, holding the very solution in her arms, or rather, on her back. His eyes flickered to the sleeping child, her tiny hand curled gently around the sling, her breath steady, her face angelic in its calmness. He felt tears sting his eyes, something he hadn't felt in years. For all his wealth, all his power, he realized he had failed to give his daughter what she truly needed: love, warmth, closeness, something no amount of money could buy. The billionaire swallowed hard, his pride breaking piece by piece. "I was wrong," he admitted silently in his heart. "This woman, she saved my daughter." And for the first time, he didn't see her as a servant in a uniform, but as a protector, a mother figure, someone far more valuable than gold. From that day forward, the billionaire treated the maid not as a servant, but as family. The mansion that once echoed with his strict orders and cold silence began to feel warmer. Every time he saw his daughter resting peacefully on the maid's back, he was reminded of the day he almost let his pride destroy the one thing that truly mattered, his child's happiness. He started showing gratitude in ways he never imagined before. He raised her salary far beyond what she expected, bought her gifts, not out of pity but out of genuine respect, and gave her the freedom of the home as though it were her own. The maid, who had once walked quietly in the shadows, now moved with dignity, knowing that her care was finally seen, valued, and honored. Most importantly, he trusted her with his daughter. Baby Lily grew healthier, happier, and stronger because of the maid's tender care. her laughter filled the grand halls, her tiny giggles bouncing off golden walls that once only reflected wealth but now carried love. Whenever the billionaire saw his daughter's glowing smile, he silently thanked the woman who had taught him a lesson his money never could. At lavish parties, when his rich friends would gather and boast about their possessions, he often shared this story, shocking them with his honesty. He would look them in the eye and say, "Sometimes, love and wisdom don't come from money, they come from the hearts of people you least expect." His words silenced rooms full of billionaires, for they knew deep down he spoke a truth money could never buy. The maid herself never changed. She remained humble, gentle, and dedicated, but her bond with the family grew unbreakable. The billionaire's daughter clung to her with the kind of trust that even he, her father, envied at times, yet instead of jealousy, he felt pride, for he knew he had made the right choice in honoring her. So friends, never judge someone by their status, because sometimes the person you look down upon is the one who can lift you the highest. True wealth isn't in the cars you drive or the mansions you own, it's in the love and wisdom you choose to value. The billionaire had finally learned that lesson, and because of it, his daughter's future was brighter than ever. If this story touched your heart, then don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Because who knows, the next story might just change the way you see the world.